So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Kaduki back here, BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, March 17th. It was having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, March 17th here today. Hopefully everybody is having a good day so far. We are now day 3 of free agency officially. The deals and free agency officially starts today. But realistically, we are on day 3. But today, the deals, all that trades, the new season, new league year begins, as they all like to say, where trades, deals, signings, all that stuff becomes official. So today, Matthew Stafford will officially become a Los Angeles Ram. Carson Wentz will officially become an Indianapolis Colt. Jared Goff will officially become a Detroit Lion. You'll see guys like who the Jets just signed, Carl Lawson, Jared Davis, Corey Davis, and all those guys. Those guys will today officially become a New York Jet. You'll see John Ross, who the Giants picked up, will officially become a New York Giant. Trent Williams, who re-signed record-breaking deal, largest offensive line deal in history, will officially become a San Francisco 49er again as they re-sign him. So all the deals become official today. Very rarely actually do you see a deal where someone backs out. It actually happened with the Jets. About 2 years ago, it actually happened when we picked up Anthony Barr. We thought we had Anthony Barr, and we picked him up. And it was just a matter of getting the deal done official, and there was some sort of something down the line when we were getting the deal official that he refused to sign off on, and he kind of backed out of the deal. Not that he refused to sign off on, he just felt, after kind of putting more thought into it, after finalizing the deal, he felt, this isn't right for me. He actually ended up backing out of the deal, and then he ended up re-signing with Minnesota. After all, it's better off we didn't get Anthony Barr though, because he hasn't been playing that good after that signing. So it's better off we didn't get him. But obviously he could have came here and played well. I'm not going to get into the Anthony Barr situation. I'm just saying. So obviously today is officially when teams and players and coaches start to meet. Players will meet their new coaches and GMs, and NFL offseason is in full swing at this point. So more signings yesterday. It was a quieter day yesterday, which I'm expecting. First day is always the best. It's the loudest. There's news almost every second. It gets to the point where it's kind of annoying hearing your phone go off every minute with news, especially if you're someone like me that has millions of sports apps. So, you get a notification, then you get another notification. You get 4 of the same notifications from 4 of the different apps you have. It gets annoying, but after all, it is fun, especially when you see that the Jets signed someone, or if that's, in your case, your favorite team, whatever your favorite team might be. So yesterday, the Jets did not make any moves. Just to kind of give you an update, Giants had a louder day yesterday. I assume today, hopefully the Jets can make some moves. Yeah, Jets actually made a move yesterday. It was a smaller move. We got a cornerback who also plays really well in special teams. It was a smaller move, but, it's a 3-year, $6.5 million deal, a very small move. We get him. I don't know if it's a game changer or anything, but we'll get into how that all plays out. But these are the topics for today. Actually, before we get into the topics, we'll get into kind of just recapping last night. There wasn't much on last night. As a matter of fact, to be honest, there wasn't much on. I didn't watch that much. I was watching the Boston Bruins Pittsburgh Penguins game, and then during that game I switched really quickly to the Devils Sabres, because that game was in the final 5 minutes, and it was a really close game. Or the final 3 minutes, I switched that game because it was really close, and I ended up watching that game play out. Sabres ended up losing their 12th straight game. I kind of wanted to see if they would lose their 12th straight game, so the Devils won. And then I switched back to the Penguins-Bruins game, and there was like a minute or two left, and there was no action there. While I was able to watch a little bit of those games, mainly I was watching the Bruins and the Penguins, because that's actually a meaningful game. The Devils, Sabres, neither of those teams are making the playoffs. They're both going through massive rebuilds. So I just turned that game on because I just wanted to see 2 bad teams battle out, and I want to see if Sabres could actually win a game for once, because they haven't been able to do that. this season. They've only won 6 games this season. I actually got a Sabres topic coming up. But today we got actually a very packed night. We got Nets on. We got Rangers on. So that should be good. It's for me, without Kentucky, it's almost like every other day. You got games on, right? We have a game on tomorrow. No, we have a game on today with Nets and Rangers. Well, tomorrow there won't be any games on, really. There's going to be March Madness on tomorrow, but none of my favorite teams will be playing tomorrow in pro sports. So it's like almost like every other day. So, I have one. It's almost like I look at it as, we got games on tonight. Well, tomorrow's almost like a day off in the sports world. Not much to watch. But there's always something on, even if it's not your favorite team. But it's always much better watching your favorite team play, especially if you're a Rangers fan like me, who the Rangers, we're struggling, but we're playing meaningful games, and same thing with the Nets. We're trying to still make a strong playoff push. So, with all that being said, let's get into the topics. So today, like I said yesterday, I'm going to be talking some NFL free agency today. Tomorrow will probably be my bracket. I don't know quite how I'm going to do the bracket, whether I'm going to do a whole show on it, because I could talk I could talk hours about college basketball, about the bracket and stuff, breaking down different matchups, about different things that could happen. You could honestly, it's endless the amount of different things that could happen in a March Madness bracket. But so I'm probably going to make my bracket probably today. I already have a good idea of what I want to do. I mean, usually before I make my bracket, you usually know who you're going to want to win. You're not going to go into making your bracket having a question mark. I do know what I want to do, but I'm going to still make my bracket and still going to, still going to make my bracket and still do things like that. So I'm going to make my bracket today. But today, I said yesterday about the NFL free agency. I said about all that stuff and was talking about how, today I'm going to be talking more for NFL free agency. So yesterday, I talked about the Jets free agency update. I figured, New York sports today, let's talk about the Giants. I decided, they made 2 moves yesterday. They made one very big move, re-signing one of the better defensive linemen in the league in Leonard Williams. I don't want to say if he's in the league, he's one of the best in the league, but last season he had a year that was among some of the best. So, he's very good, definitely the Giants' best offensive lineman. After losing Dalvin Tomlinson, it was a must-need to get him back. So I wanted to talk about that. I'll give you a Giants free agency update today. Depending on what happens the rest of today, tomorrow's kind of a question mark whether I will talk about, whether tomorrow on the topic, tomorrow's topics are kind of a question mark whether I talk about any more free agency stuff involving the Jets or the Giants. Or that's kind of the thing with free agency. It's so unpredictable. I mean, we might not see any signings today, and we've seen a couple today, but we might not see any other signings today. I mean, today could be quiet. We might not see a signing until a couple weeks from now. Free agency is so unpredictable. So we'll see how it all plays out, but we'll get into Giants free agency. I did say yesterday I wanted to get some Yankee stuff. Obviously, I was saying that yesterday about getting into some of the Yankee stuff, but I decided today, involving the Sabres, involving some hockey. The Sabres just recently fired their head coach. They fired their head coach last night. The Buffalo Sabres moved on from Ralph Krueger, their head coach, after a 6-22 start. So 6 wins and 22 losses on the season. So after a 6-22 start to the year, the Sabres fired their head coach, Ralph Krueger, and they are now looking to completely strip down this roster, completely start over. And you know what stinks is when people thought the Sabres were coming out of the rebuild, they are just going right back in one. And that is a problem for the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll get into that. Then we'll finish it off with the New York sports update. We'll get into the good stuff. The Rangers, Nets all played today. Knicks obviously played last night. They took the loss. That's another game I watched shortly. And then I watched the Bruins, watched a little bit of the Devils game. Then I watched the Knicks game. And then I watched some of that Royals-Mariners game, which was an absolute blowout. It was like 11-0 in like the 4th inning. But it's baseball. So no matter if it's 50-0 or tied 1-1, it's baseball. So it's fun. But anyway, with all that being said, this is a BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So obviously, yesterday I talked about the New York Jets. I talked about some of the moves. I talked about moves impacting the team. All that good stuff. I said yesterday on the podcast that today I will probably talk more free agency stuff. I said if the Jets made more moves, I'm going to talk about the Jets. The Jets made a move yesterday. It's a very smaller move. It's a small move. I like it. I think it's a good move. Like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and gush about the move, saying, "Oh my gosh, we got this guy." I mean, he's a special teams specialist, meaning he's really good on special teams. That's really his main thing. He can play cornerback, but he's mainly a big special special teams kind of guy. So I'm not going to completely get into that. Completely get into that. Into that deal there, but it's a move that the Jets obviously felt was needed for the team. The Saints had the best special teams in the NFL last season. The Jets relatively actually struggled on special teams last season, so I guess it makes sense after all. Am I gonna sit here and be all happy about the move? No, because it's a special teams move. It's a small move. He can play cornerback if you want. You could slip him in there a little bit. He's not a guy that's gonna play every snap. He's not a guy that's gonna play He's not a guy that's gonna play it over 90% of the snaps. He's gonna be out there when you need him. He's almost like a utility guy. So I'm not going to get into that. But I decided, you know what? New York sports. I haven't talked much Giants on here because I talk a lot of Jets, obviously, since they're my favorite team. But I haven't talked much Giants. The last time I really talked Giants was the Leonard Williams rumors and stuff going on there. So I decided today to talk about some of the Giants free agency update to kind of give you a little bit of an overview on how the NFL is doing. Like I said, first day was very packed. We had guys coming off the board. Yesterday was relatively quiet. I've noticed there was a lot of moves in the beginning of the day. Later on in the day, there was minimal moves, not many moves being made. A couple small moves here and there. Bill signing, Emmanuel Sanders to a 1-year, $6 million deal. A couple moves here and there. Lee Smith getting traded. Then really last night, I would say during the night is when the big moves came. Trent Williams got signed. Biggest signing, highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Then Alex Mack got signed. So the Niners are really bolstering that offensive line, bringing back Trent Williams, signing veteran center from the Atlanta Falcons, Alex Mack. So they're really bolstering that offensive line. So I would say yesterday during the day it was relatively quiet, but when we got during the night and when most of all of us were sleeping and stuff, that's when most of the moves were down, and that a lot of times happens. Is these guys negotiate for so long, it comes down to the little last bit. I mean, I remember that's what happened to Le'Veon Bell. I remember I was tracking the story the entire day. I mean, I literally remember I was tracking it the entire day from start to finish. I was tracking it, and it didn't so happen. It happened during the middle of the night is when he ended up signing with the Jets. It literally came down to the final couple of deals, and he made the move to go with the Jets and obviously did not go to the Ravens. So a lot of times you see that. But anyway, with all my blabbing on and on and on about NFL free agency, let's get into the Giants. So the Giants so far... The Giants so far today, yesterday, or in free agency, I would say so far the Giants, before yesterday, had a relatively quiet free agency. And I know free agency mainly started on Monday, but even just offseason in general, they didn't make many moves. I mean, you could say that about every team, but the Giants relatively have been quiet. I mean, there hasn't even been much rumors going around the Giants other than Kenny Golladay, but the Giants made a move yesterday. Leonard Williams and the New York Giants, obviously, the Giants placed the franchise tag on Leonard Williams, a couple weeks ago, obviously when the franchise tag deadline came. Marcus May got franchise tag, Leonard Williams got franchise tag. Those are your two main guys that got franchise tag in New York sports. So obviously all those guys. But Leonard Williams, and obviously there's been negotiations. Obviously with the franchise tag, you can make moves. You still have a time from when you place the franchise tag on them until July. You can still negotiate a contract. If after July you don't have a contract, then you're done. You're going to have to play with the franchise tag the entire year. Some teams, they don't even negotiate. But Leonard Williams was pushing really hard to get a contract, was pushing really, really hard to get a contract. And the Giants, I think, too, were trying to push to get Leonard Williams signed as well. I think it was mainly Leonard Williams. So the Giants yesterday, Leonard Williams, Giants reportedly agreed to a new 3-year deal, $63 million contract. So 3 years, $63 million contract. And then shortly after that, literally like 5 minutes after that, which you see a lot of times where the Jets did this too on Monday. They were quiet all day, then they made a move. 5 minutes later, they made another move. You a lot of times see that. They usually strike moves about the same time. So the Giants, about literally 5 minutes later, I got the update that Leonard Williams got signed, and then 5 minutes later, the Giants signed John Ross, one of the faster receivers in the league. Not much anymore because he's much older. His legs aren't, he's not John Ross 4 years ago when he ran the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL history, 4.22 seconds. But they're still getting John Ross. They're still getting a guy, veteran presence to the locker room. They're still getting a guy who, could still go out there and give you quality performances. I mean, this isn't a move that's going to, bolster the Giants in a crazy way. I mean, I don't think the Giants can only rely on John Ross here. The Giants have got to do a lot more than just pick up John Ross to help their receiving core. Am I saying it's a bad move? No. I think it's a move that's going to bring a veteran presence to your locker room. It's a low move. It's a 1 year, I think, like $2.5 million, $1 million guaranteed. It's a small move, not much money. You're bringing a guy into a veteran presence. He's going to add depth. He's not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and you're going to expect 10 touchdown season, over 1,000 yards receiving. No, you can't expect that out of John Ross. So a big move by the New York Giants yesterday and a small move by the New York Giants yesterday. But a lot of times, if I always say it in free agency, the small moves are sometimes the moves that make the greatest impact. A lot of times, the biggest name player that you sign, he might not be the guy. Almost, for example, with the Jets a couple years ago. We signed C.J. Mosley and Le'Veon Bell. Those were two big moves. Well, Bell's not on the team. Mosley's played one game. Jamison Crowder was the smaller move that offseason. Jamison Crowder has made the greatest impact on this team. He's one of the better slot receivers in the NFL. So, obviously, and he was the guy we paid the less money. So, a lot of times you could see, not saying this is going to be the same thing with John Ross here, but the Giants with signing John Ross here. But John Ross, obviously, John Ross obviously is a smaller move. Not saying he's going to be the greatest receiver in the NFL, but this could be a move that could translate into, being a solid move. Because a lot of times you got to realize this: when players get big money, when players get big deals, there's a lot of pressure on them. Like, no one's expecting John Ross to go out there and give you a great performance every game. I mean, I'm sure this year, if John Ross isn't getting many catches, you're going to forget about him. So there's a little bit of a difference. But who knows? That could be a hidden gem type of move. I don't think it will be. I think it's a move that's going to add a veteran presence to a relatively younger locker room and a younger receiving core. Slayton's going into his third year. That's pretty young. John Ross is still relatively young, but he's been in the league for 4 or 5 years now. He's still young, but he's, compared to the Giants receiving core and the Giants team, he's older. I mean, Barkley's still young. Jones is still young. The offense is still young. Andrew Thomas, the guys on the offense is still young for the New York Giants. And if anything, they only got more younger by releasing veteran Golden Tate, getting rid of Kevin Zeitler, and, things like that. So the Giants, if anything, on the offense side of the ball have gone more young. So this adds veteran presence to the locker room and adds some depth at a position that they need depth badly. So for the New York Giants there. But the main move, I'm going to get into this move. Then I kind of just talked about the John Ross move here, but I kind of want to really get into this move. And this is Leonard Williams. Giants reportedly agreed to a new 3-year deal. That's $63 million contract, 3 years, $63 million deal. It's crazy that, the Giants, this is a deal. Okay, right. This is a big thing, right? So right now, as A.J. Green signs with the Arizona Cardinals, 7-time Pro Bowler, will be 1 year, $8 million. So, A.J. Green going to the Arizona Cardinals. But anyway, back to the New York Giants here. Like I said, that's another thing too. I'll get to the Giants here, but that's another thing. It's crazy. Moves happen, like every so often. Like, I could be doing this podcast and then Kenny Golladay could get signed. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Kenny Golladay is going to sign anytime soon, and I'll get into Kenny Golladay here with the Giants. But it's crazy how free agency works. So anyway, back with the Giants. So the Giants obviously kind of give you a little bit of a timeline here with the Giants and Leonard Williams. Right here, like I said, sitting right here, right now, on March 17th, Wednesday, which it is St. Patrick's Day, says happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there who celebrates it. Okay, with involving the Giants here, sitting here right now, Wednesday, March 17th on St. Patrick's Day, okay, this, I would say, is a good move for the New York Giants. Now, the New York Giants acquired Leonard Williams back, not last year, not this most recent year, but the year before that. So the Giants acquired Leonard Williams. They gave up a 5th-round pick and a 3rd-round pick to get Leonard Williams from the New York Jets. Leonard Williams with the Jets that year was doing terrible. He had a half of a sack, wasn't doing anything, was struggling. He wasn't even helping in the run game. It's not like you can make that excuse of, oh, he's good in the run game. He was doing nothing. He was just getting destroyed by blockers. We all thought maybe he came into the season out of shape. Maybe he came into the season not ready. We all thought that. No, that wasn't the case. Leonard Williams, he just straight up was terrible that year. The Giants decided, instead of the Jets were about to just release him and the Giants could have just picked him up off of waivers, well, the Giants decided, you know what? Let's give up a 5th-round pick and a 3rd-round pick for that guy. For a guy who's got a half of a sack through 8 games this season, let's give him up. And the Giants gave up 2 picks for one of the worst defensive linemen at the time in the league because he was very good. Very good when he first joined the Jets. That year, he was terrible. He wasn't getting tackles. He wasn't run stuffing. He was just watching the play develop and being lazy. He wasn't doing anything whatsoever. So the New York Giants said, you know what? Okay, let's give up a 5th and a 3rd. So they gave up a 5th and a 3rd for Leonard Williams, and he joined the New York Giants. And the rest of that year, he did not get a sack. He finished the year with a half of a sack. This is where this move could go either way. This most recent year, 2020 season, he had a great year. Was the best offensive lineman, or not the best offensive lineman, best defensive lineman by far in the Giants. And numbers-wise, an eye test, one of the better defensive linemen in the league this year. This is the problem with giving him this big money. You could look at it both ways. You could look at it as, okay, that was just a terrible year. He was on 2 separate teams, just didn't have a good year. Okay, you could look at it that way. And you could also say, well, his first couple years with the Jets were very good. And yes, he was a Pro Bowler. Very good pick for the first couple years, and he stunk. So you can look at it that way and say, okay, he's back to his old self. And I would be okay with that. Or you could look at it this way. He had 1 or 2 really good years with the Jets, had a terrible year, came to the Giants, joins them. It's almost like the same thing. Has a great year, and he's going to fool them into a $63 million contract. You could look at it that way too. You could look at it either way. You can look at it however you want. But as I stand right now, I think really to tell whether this dude, I think right now I would say this is a good move. Because you just lost Dalvin Tomlinson to the Minnesota Vikings, who was your other very good defensive lineman. And Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson together on the line were really dangerous. So to afford to lose both of them, I guess the only way you could really keep one of them and have one of them play at the hardest level was to pay Leonard Williams here. So that's why. If Dalvin Tomlinson stayed and Leonard Williams was really pushing this hard, I would have maybe changed my opinion on it a little bit. Because you did franchise tag Leonard Williams, so he still would have been playing with you guys. But I might have changed my opinion a little bit on it. But I think, especially with losing Dalvin Tomlinson in free agency, joined the Minnesota Vikings, I think you had to get Leonard Williams back. And that's one of those tough situations. That's what they call the business of the sport. You would love to keep both of them, but cap space-wise, just franchise-wise, just contract-wise, you can't. You can't. That's the tough part of a sport. Sports are fun and all to watch and to play, but at the end of the day, it is a business. And for GMs and owners and organizations to have to make a tough decision like that, the Giants ultimately chose to sign Leonard Williams. And I think that was the right decision. Because even if you don't franchise tag Leonard Williams, he might not be back. Because he was really hungry for a long-term deal, and I don't think he cared where he got the long-term deal. I just think he wanted to get a long-term deal. And this deal, a lot of people were saying too, it's a good amount of years for the New York Giants. It's not like they're giving him this big 5-year deal. At the end of the deal, let's just say it's 2 years, and then you can have an opt-out after the second year. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, after his 2 years, Leonard Williams is going to be 29 years old, almost 30 years old. It's crazy how long he's been in the league. It's crazy. I remember the day he got drafted. It's crazy how long he's been in the league. Leonard Williams, right? When he leaves, let's just say after the 2 years he opts out. He'll be 29. Okay, then he goes signs another deal with another team. Boom, the Giants just got him in his prime years. So the Giants are getting him in his prime years. How good are his prime years? I don't know. We'll see. We've seen how good he can be. We'll see if he can keep it up. He's still relatively young. I mean, he's what, 27? He's going to be 29 soon. I mean, he was drafted in 2015. So he's not old, but we'll definitely see how this plays out. I think right now, this is a good move. Because like I said, you lost Dalvin Tomlinson. So you needed to get one of them back. And I heard reports yesterday that was what was slowing down the Giants free agent process was Leonard Williams. Because they were too busy trying to get a deal done with him. And that was slowing up some of their free agent process. So they had to get a deal done yesterday, or else these negotiations would have went on forever, and that's when you start to get friction from the two sides. So the Giants make this move. Good move. Mainly a good move here because they got rid of Dalvin Tomlinson, they lost him in free agency. You're also bringing back a very young and talented defensive lineman. Let's see if he can keep it up. Because obviously he showed a good 2-3 year stretch with the Jets. Had a bad year. He had a very good year this year. Let's see if he can keep it up. Because if you're paying a guy $63 million to get a half of a sack, that's a problem. We'll see if he can keep it up. But before I get into the article, one thing here is he does fit well in the defense coordinator Patrick Graham's defense with the Giants. He does fit well in his defense. So sometimes it's just straight up being a scheme fit. You know, because his first year with the Giants, that 8 games, he was not good under the defense. Patrick Graham gets hired as the defensive coordinator and all that. He was good under his defense. So, good move there. Good move there for the Giants. So Leonard Williams, Giants reportedly agreed to a new 3-year deal worth up to $63 million contract. Leonard Williams still hasn't played for a team outside of New York in his NFL career. That is very true. The New York Giants re-signed the defensive end to a 3-year deal worth $63 million contract on Tuesday, according to Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. According to Ian Rappaport of Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, the deal reportedly includes $45 million fully guaranteed. This is not a surprising move considering Rappaport reported March 9th the team saw the franchise tag it placed on him as a placeholder for a long-term deal. Williams entered the league when the New York Jets selected him with the number 6 overall pick in the 2015 NFL Draft. He spent his first 4 full seasons with the Jets until they traded him to the Giants for a 3rd and a 5th round pick during the 2019 season. The USC product appeared to be well on his way to a dominant NFL career when he made the Pro Bowl in his second season with 68 tackles, 7 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. However, Williams' breakout campaign was not a sign of things to come with the Jets as he started to resemble a high-profile bust instead. He posted 2 sacks in 2017, a solid but unspectacular 5 in 2018, and a mere half sacks in 2019, which he split between the 2 New York teams. It seemed at the time the Jets fleeced the Giants in the deal when the production completely fell off, and it was fair to wonder where his career was headed prior to the 2020 campaign. Williams played in the 2020 season under the franchise tag, which represented a high-pressure opportunity to prove he was worth a longer deal before free agency. He seized his chance to make an impression on the rest of the league and the Giants by playing in all 16 games and tallying 57 tackles and a career-high 11 and a half sacks and a fumble recovery. It's never been about money for me, Williams said when reflecting on his 2020 effort, per Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News. I was kind of drafted high, made a lot of money already in my career. I feel like I was smart enough and I could retire now and still have enough money for the rest of my life, but it's never been about money. I think I more wanted respect and to show guys the reason why I'm in this league. It's more about the respect to me than the contract. Williams earned plenty of respect in 2020 with a career best season and is still just 26 years old. If he continues playing like he did last season, he could help the Giants reach the playoffs for the first time and since the 2016 campaign. I don't like that last sentence, helping the Giants reach the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think we can almost guarantee that. One guy is not going to change the team. It's going to take multiple guys, especially in football. Football's a team sport. Football's not like basketball where you could have one super play, where you can have one great player and you could take a team to the finals. That's not the case. And football is a team sport. One defensive lineman isn't going to make a team go to the playoffs. Unless if you're that dominant, which Leonard Williams, he's very good, but he's not a guy that's going to be able to carry a team on his shoulders. No one can just carry a team. Obviously, there's guys on a team, every team, like Patrick Mahomes. He's a big piece. I mean, you remove Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs don't look the same. But still, like Patrick Mahomes has nothing to do with the defense. So you still got to have guys on defense. Football's a team sport. You got to have guys both sides of the ball. Giants right now have holes on offense. And to all those Giants fans out there who just assume Saquon Barkley is going to come back and be amazing, I like Saquon a lot. I do. I really do. I like him. I liked him coming out of college. I still really think that he's one of the top running backs in the league when healthy. Is it fair right now to say he's a top 5 running back in the NFL? No, because he didn't play last year. I got to see how he returns. But people automatically think, and this is the problem with Giants, people automatically think, and it's okay, great, to be a sports fan and be confident about your teams, but to automatically think that Saquon Barkley is going to come back and be the Saquon Barkley we saw before the torn ACL, you can't say that. Torn ACL is a terrible injury. It's a terrible injury for any possession of the field, let alone a running back, where you're making cuts, where you're using your knees, where your lower half, your legs and all that is a big part of your game. I mean, literally, you can't run without, you use your legs to run. So your cuts, your knees, all that, so the cuts you make, the jukes, all the lateral movement, all that, that's your knees, that's your legs, that's your lower half. So, it's tough to already assume, we're getting Saquon back. That's great. Yeah, it's great that you're getting Saquon back, but we got to see how he returns from a torn ACL. Same thing with Kevin Durant. Yeah, like I said, I've been saying this with KD. KD showed that he's very good, though. KD showed that the torn Achilles didn't phase him. Everyone is talking about KD. Oh, KD's coming back. Yeah, he is, but let's see how he returns from the Achilles, right? Let's see. He's returned from the Achilles great. He's looked like one of the best players in the league when he's out there. So, a lot of that stuff is big. So, same thing here with Barkley. I like Barkley a lot. I do think he will be good. I do think he will pick up where I do think he'll have a solid season. But automatically right now saying, oh, we have Saquon Barkley back, you can't say that. He's coming off of a torn ACL. First off, it's not fair to Barkley. You're going to have to give him time. It's going to be his first game in a year. You're going to have to give him time. You can't just expect him. You can't put all the pressure on the guy to come out week 1 and run for 200 yards. Great for him if he does that. It's going to take him 2 to 3 weeks to get back into the action fully. Sometimes fans just get a little hyped. I do it too. Same thing with KD. I did it. Oh, we're getting KD. Where sometimes you forget about the injury. Same thing here with Barkley. And that's another thing, too. Like I said, it's not fair to all of a sudden say Barkley's. You gotta be patient with it, especially coming off of an injury like that. Sure, if it was a twisted ankle, okay, that should be able to be recovered and healed in a little bit, but it wasn't. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, coming up next, or actually, let me get into the stats and then that. Like I said, I talked a little bit about the John Ross move. I could talk here, but let's get into some of John Ross' stats because I did read Leonard Williams' stats already a little bit. That's not that. Okay, so let's get to John Ross's stats here. So, John Ross last season. John Ross has played 4 years in the NFL. He's 25 years old. He did not play much last season. He only had 2 catches for 17 yards actually last season. He played 3 games last year. So, like I said, this John Ross move with the Giants, and I kind of noted this earlier. I'm going to talk like about a minute on this. But John Ross with the Giants here, this is... It's okay. It's hard to say because I don't want to call it a bad move because it's tough to call a move bad before it's even happened. But I don't want to say it's a terrible move because it's tough to call a move this small a terrible move. Like it's a move it's so small we might forget about John Ross this year. But John Ross, here's the problem with this move. He's never played a full season in his career. He's played 4 years. In most games he played in a year was 13. So the most he's missed 3. He's a guy that does not stay on the field often, which is a problem. But when he does, he's pretty solid. So, we'll see how it goes with John Ross. But it's a small move for the Giants. They picked up John Ross. We all get it. He's a guy that's going to be straight speed. He's going to be literally straight speed. It's speed with him. But it's also, you got to make sure that he can stay healthy. If you want this move to make any impact, he's got to stay healthy. But anyway, so that's kind of what I got on the Giants free agency update. Like I said, free agents, still a lot of good free agents out there. Juju Smith-Schuster, Will Fuller, obviously Kenny Golladay is the big one. And that's just receivers. Still a lot of good free agency out there. Hopefully the Jets make some moves. Hopefully, we see some more action today. It's always fun to see where guys are going to land. It's always fun. It's fun to predict, and it's fun to finally see. You could, leading up to free agency, you can make all these predictions, and then once it actually happens, you're like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming, or, oh, I did see that coming. So, but anyway, that's what I got for the Giants free agency update. Coming up next, the Sabres fire their head coach after a terrible start to the season. They're 16-8-4 on the year. That is the equivalent to 6-22. Sabres fire head coach Ralph Krueger. I will tell you why the Sabres, it's a good move for the Sabres. I'll tell you why it's a good move. And how the Sabres, they thought they might have been coming out of a rebuild slightly. They are going right back into another deep rebuild coming up next. Alrighty. So, Ralph Krueger fired as Sabres head coach after 6-22 start to 2021 season. So, yes, you heard that right. The Buffalo Sabres have moved on from head coach Ralph Krueger after a team's 12-game losing streak right now, and they are not done with that losing streak. They're in the middle of a 12-game losing streak right now, and the Buffalo Sabres have yet to win a game in March, and they are on a 12-game losing streak. So we might not see them. They might not win a game in March. Who knows? You got to be optimistic, obviously, as a Sabres fan, and hope that this is, and like I said, I don't want to be this fan here that says, I'm not a Sabres fan, but I don't want to be this guy here that's all I'm just going to say, okay, this is, you can finally see some. No. If you want to be an optimistic Sabres fan in a season that's been terrible, you've won 6 games this season in 28 games. That is not good. You're 6-22 this year. That's terrible. 6-22 is not good whatsoever. So, the Buffalo Sabres have decided to move on from head coach. And if you want to be a Sabres fan right now, and if you're a Sabres fan right now and you're trying to find something, something to be happy about during this 12-game losing streak. To be honest, the Sabres, to be completely honest with you, the Sabres were not in a position where, the Sabres weren't in a terrible position. The Sabres, when they came back from their shutdown, they were 6-10. So, they were 6-10, or somewhere around there. They were 6-10. That's not terrible. It's not ideal, but it's not awful. It's not ideal. It's not awful though. It's it's not something you should be proud of, but you're still in a range of being you're still in a somewhat decent range. You're still in a range of okay, we could still try to make things happen. But this 12-game losing streak has completely ended their season. Now they're 28 games into the year. Mathematically, the best they could do, even if they win every other remaining game this season, they're 6-18-4. So 28 plus, they could be 32 and 20. It would be even tough if they even make the playoffs at this point. They're not mathematically they're not eliminated yet, but even if they win every remaining game this season, let me see here. So if they're 6-18-4, 6-22 overall. Let's see. So So they have 28 games remaining this season. So let's just say they would be 34-22 would be their total record, which would even then only be 12 games to 500, which even then wouldn't be enough. But anyway, without the fantasizing here and all the math, the Sabres have moved on from their head coach, Ralph Kruger, and this is actually now the Flames, I believe, fired their coach. Canadians fired theirs. That's 2. So this is our second or third. This is our third head coach firing of the season. So, Ralph Kruger is the next victim of firing. So, like I said, this news came out earlier today. Sabres fans are happy about it. They're in the middle of a miserable 12-game losing streak. But yeah, they fired the head coach here in the middle of a miserable 12-game losing streak. And, the Sabres, I feel like this season with the Buffalo Sabres, and this is another thing, too, that's tough is, the Sabres, obviously, a couple years back, the Sabres they have never won a Stanley Cup. Actually, the entire city of Buffalo, they've never witnessed a championship. But the Bills have never won one, and the Sabres have never won a championship either. But in regards to the Sabres here, I feel like 2-3 years ago, the Sabres were in the middle of a rebuild, right? They were getting guys like Jack Eichel, guys like that. They had all these different players, and Kyle Poso, and they had obviously some of the veterans on the team like Ryan O'Reilly, who are no longer on the team anymore. Ryan O'Reilly is no longer a member of the Sabres. You obviously had some of the veterans. A young Jack Eichel, who was really young, who was one of the better players, coming out of, the junior teams and all that. The Sabres were able to get him and all that good stuff. And the Sabres, a couple years back, they were in the middle of a rebuild, but you could kind of see, a little bit. You can kind of see slightly the light at the end of the tunnel. And I would say now, it seems now that these, last year and even this year, going into this year, you almost seem like, okay, the Sabres, they added, Jack Eichel was very frustrated with the losing. He was getting tired of it. The Jack Eichel, who's supposed to be their star player this year, has struggled. He's actually injured right now, and actually head coach Ralph Kruger a couple days ago said he'll be out for the foreseeable future. Well, we'll see what the new coach says, the interim coach. But the Sabres going into this year, you can kind of say they got Taylor Hall, who was the big prize of free agency. He struggled, and that's something too here is with the Sabres. They had a good offseason. They had a successful offseason. Victor Olofsson, they Victor Olofson's on the team. You got Taylor Hall. You got Jack Eichel. I mean, Taylor Hall and Jack Eichel, those are two guys that, two forwards that could really make a huge impact. You're getting Stahl, who's a veteran. Eric Stahl is a veteran. All that stuff. He's a veteran to this team that's relatively young. I mean, Eichel's still young. Taylor Hall, you're getting another veteran who's still, can teach some of the young guys as well. And you're as a Sabres fan, you're kind of feeling like, okay, we're starting to build a foundation, and we've kind of already got a foundation built. And everything is taking a dump, and that is the truth. Everything's has just been dumped into a big dumpster fire, and the Sabres right now are a dumpster fire, and that's the only way, that's the nicest way I could put it. I'm sorry, but that's the best way I could put it. The Sabres right now are a dumpster fire. I mean, you're 6-22, you're at the bottom of your East Division, you're actually at the bottom of the NHL. The Sabres are now actually better than you, or not the Sabres, sorry, the Ottawa Senators. The Sabres can be better than the Sabres, that's interesting, but the Senators, who a couple weeks back were the worst team in NHL. Now the Senators are better than the Sabres, and the Sabres now have the least amount of wins. They have 6 wins, and then they're in a terrible position. And now you're starting to see a team who we almost saw. It's almost like they kind of got out of that rebuild. They got Taylor Hall, Victor Olofsson, Jack Eichel, all those guys. It's like they're out of the rebuild, and now they're going back into another rebuild that's going to take some time. You're going to see a lot of these guys. I wouldn't be surprised to see Taylor Hall traded, Jack Eichel traded. I think Taylor Hall, Jack Eichel, and Stahl all get traded either at the deadline or by the end of the year. I think this team goes completely young. Jack Eichel has struggled this year. He's had 2 goals this year, and he struggled. He's been able to get assists, but he's had 2 goals. For a guy that's supposed to be a pure goal scorer, he's had 2 goals. That's unacceptable if you're the Sabres. Your young player who's supposed to be a goal scorer has 2 goals. And it's not like he's not getting chances. It's just the fact that he's not scoring. He's just not having a good year. It's not like teams are locking down on him. As a matter of fact, teams are now actually kind of loosening up on him because they realize that he's not playing well. He's just missing shots. He's just not getting he's just getting opportunities. He's just not capitalizing. Shots Jack Eichel were making 2 years ago are no longer going in. He's just not having a good year. And who knows? Maybe he is playing with an injury. Maybe because he's been on and off the ice with a lower body injury and an upper body injury. Maybe he is playing through something, that's making his game. Maybe it is he's playing through something. Maybe it's just the fact that he's just having an off year. I mean, Mika Zibanejad at the New York Rangers having an off year. Maybe that's with Jack Eichel. Maybe he's just having an off year. But to be honest, I think the Sabres right now, they completely stripped down at the end of the year, and I think this is a start. And if you want to be kind of optimistic, if you want to be on the side of things, if you want to be on the side of, okay, hey, let's be optimistic, let's hope this is start of something, hopefully that gets us to the better, you could say, okay, it all started with the head coach being fired, and now you move to the younger side. And I would tell you what, the 2 guys that were supposed to be almost, not, I don't want to say two-headed monster, but the 2 guys that were, a lot of people at the beginning of the year had the Sabres being a serious threat. They got Taylor Hall, they already have Jack Eichel, they're surrounded by a lot of good young talent, and Ralph Kruger at the beginning of the year wasn't really noticed as a terrible coach. He was kind of just there. Now they're the laughingstock in the NFL at the worst record in the NFL, or in the NFL. The NHL, they're the laughingstock of the NHL, the worst record in the NHL. And now they're sitting here looking at a guy who, Taylor Hall, they gave a 1-year deal. A guy who, Jack Eichel, who, young talent, stuff like that. Now you're looking at both those guys possibly being gone. You bring a veteran presence to the locker room and Stahl. He's going to be a guy that's probably also going to be gone. So the Sabres went from, okay, we look like we have a solid foundation to, oh gosh, it all just got destroyed and blown up. So the Sabres right now are not in a good position. But luckily they were able to fire their head coach. And sometimes that's the best thing you could do, is fire your coach, get rid of him. A lot of times teams, players, especially young guys who want to win, who, are trying their best every game, because at this point I think Taylor Hall realizes he's not returning to Buffalo. And luckily the Sabres only signed him to a 1-year deal. Lucky them. And luckily Taylor Hall wasn't looking for any more than that. And part of the reason could be because Jack Eichel was recruiting Taylor Hall and wanted to get a guy over here. Because Jack Eichel at the beginning of the year said, at the end of last year and during the offseason said, the Sabres, I'm tired of losing and all that. He didn't exactly say that, but he kind of noted that, I'm tired of losing, went to the front office, wanted other guys. They got Taylor Hall, hasn't worked out. Maybe this is just one of those things that's just not working out. Sabres should go to the young side, and a positive here in a season full of negatives. At least some of your young players are playing well. At least Victor Olofsson has been showing some potential. right? But the Sabres, a season full of negatives, there's very little positives to take out of it. But I guess right here, this is a little bit of a positive. You fired your coach. You can now say, okay, and I know how that feels. I know how that feels. I'm a Jets fan. I had to suffer through 32 games of Adam Gase. For 16 games each year, I had to suffer through 32 games of Adam Gase. To be honest, more than that, because I didn't like the signing. I didn't like it when it first happened. And obviously, I didn't like him going to week 1. I said that the entire offseason. I said I would love this. I would seriously think this team's a true threat if we had a different coach. Sure enough, it never worked out. So I feel Sabres fans' pain here. It's almost like the organization just isn't listening to the fans. They're just letting the suffer continue. Like the amount of times I've asked Adam Gase to be fired. Sabres fans, fire Ralph Kruger, fire him. And they weren't firing. They finally fire him. It's a positive. But still not in a good position with a 6-22 record. So, Ralph Kruger fired as Sabres head coach after the 6-22 start to the 2021 season. The Buffalo Sabres announced Wednesday head coach Ralph Kruger has been fired following the team's 12-game losing streak. Buffalo sits at the bottom of the NHL standings with 16 points, 6-18-4 record, 18 losses, 4 of those losses being in overtime, or 4 losses in overtime. So that's how the NHL is. It's kind of odd, but it's 6-18-4. So 18 regulation losses and 4 overtime losses combines for 6-22, but which is 6 points fewer than any other team. Kruger, who was hired in May 2019, finishes his tenure with a 36-49-12 mark. Mike Harrington of the Buffalo News reported the other staff changes, including Darren Granato taking over as head coach on the interim basis. So this is from Mike Harrington, who is a Buffalo news guy who follows the Sabres and Buffalo sports teams. So he said, breaking news, I've learned Don Granato will be the Sabres interim coach, and Steve Smith has also been fired. The development coaches Matt Ellis and Dan Girardi are going to be behind the bench as assistants. Expectations were on the rise for the Sabres coming into the 2020-2021 campaign. They made a major free agent splash by signing Taylor Hall, who won the Hart Trophy as the NHL's MVP in 2017-2018, along with trade acquisition of Eric Stahl from the Minnesota Wild. Those additions, combined with the continued development of highly touted young players like Rasmus Dahlin and Dylan Cousins, was projected to at least keep Buffalo competitive in a tough East Division, like I said earlier. Instead, Kruger drew the ire of the fans and local media for his questionable lineup decisions and his preferred style of play. The Buffalo News recently ranked the team below the Seattle Kraken, an expansion franchise yet to draft a roster ahead of its 2021-2022 debut in its NHL Power Rankings. So yeah, this is kind of a little bit of a joke. It's obviously not true. But Seattle Kraken, who are an expansion team, they're going to be this upcoming season in the NHL. They put them in front of them in the Power Rankings, and the Seattle Kraken have never played a game. So that's not true, but it's we'll see how it all goes. But Jeff Skinner, who scored 40 goals playing alongside franchise cornerstone Jack Eichel on the top line 2 seasons ago, was demoted to the fourth line and averaged a career low ice time 13 minutes and 45 seconds. It was a strange decision based on history of being an elite 5-on-5 scorer. Skinner, who's in the second season of an 8-year, $72 million contract, was a healthy scratch for 2 games earlier in the campaign, but shrugged off Kruger's suggestion it could help him elevate his play. I don't think I've ever really felt like I need a day off to relook at things, Skinner told reporters. I've seen a lot in this league run through adversity before my career. You just work, keep working, and put your head down, and that's what I'll do. Most of the problems stemmed from Kruger's instance on the defensive first brand of hockey, despite Buffalo's subpar group of defensemen and lackluster goaltending. If the Sabres were going to make a jump this season, it was going to come on the back of offense led by Eichel, Hall, Stahl, Skinner, Sam Reinhart, and Victor Olofsson. It's a top 6 with ample upside if given more offensive freedom. So, Eichel, Taylor Hall, and Victor Olofsson, I would say this season, Victor Olofsson, I would say probably this season has been one of the best players and one of the best offensive players for the Sabres. Young, got a really good slap shot. He does score a lot on power plays, which is one thing you might want to work on with a young player, is trying to get him. Most of his goals do come on power play. It's kind of it's usually top shelf, left side of the net from a goal. If you're looking out at the ice, it's usually left side of the net, top shelf, glove side, usually. Usually it's a glove side. Very good shot, very good spin on the puck, very quick shot. It's something that a lot of times you have a player that's up at the top of the offensive zone, usually checks it down, or a guy that's in the middle of the offensive zone checks it over, he takes it and hits it. He's a left-handed stick, very good spin on the puck, usually goes left side glove of the goalie, very good player. But maybe something that he could work on his game is scoring more regular 5-on-5. He's a very good power play scorer, very good. He's good scoring regularly, but he could probably work on that as well. Yet Kruger refused to relent to conventional wisdom as the losses mounted. Fittingly, Skinner scored a 5-on-5 goal on Tuesday loss to the New Jersey Devils despite logging less ice time than the likes of Kyle Poso and Riley Shanahan. And it cost the 61-year-old Canadian his job. The coaching change likely won't mean much for Buffalo this season. It's 18 points behind Boston for the Boston Bruins for the East Final playoff spot. And the relative strength of the division makes it virtually impossible to go on the type of run it needs to climb the standings. That said, Kruger illustrated he wasn't the answer to the problems that have led the Sabres to an NHL-long 9-year playoff drought. And the 12-game long losing skid hastened his departure. Now the focus shifts to the NHL trade deadline on April 12th, where players such as Hall and Stahl could be on the move as the team's roster's reconstruction begins anew with an eye toward the 2021-2022 season. So, they're looking ahead at this point, as they will be they'll be looking ahead to next season, to the off season, to the trade deadline. Right now it's the trade deadline, then off season, getting your coach. It all starts with the coach. Clearing up cap, getting young guys, draft, lottery, picks. I would assume with the draft lottery, it's draft lottery, so any team could really get the first pick. But the Sabres, I have an odd feeling, will have the best chance to get the first pick. So it starts from there. You get a guy, and you build around him. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Eichel gone. I think Taylor Hall and Eric Stahl are both gone at the deadline. I think Eichel, because he's injured, I think they got to trade him at the end of the year because it's going to be tough to trade an injured player, let alone a player who's not played well this season. So, I know how it feels. It's frustrating, obviously. It's hard enough for the Rangers right now to get into a playoff spot, and they're only a couple points behind. It's going to be really hard. It's impossible. But obviously, we'll see how it all plays out with the Buffalo Sabres and their coaching search, and I don't want to call it a new beginning because it's not like it's a new coach, but we'll see how the rest of the play. I think one thing, if you're a Sabres fan, obviously you want to see him win, obviously, and all that good stuff. But I think if you're a Sabres fan, I think one thing you want to look for the rest of the season is the effort. If you see this team is playing much harder with a new coach, which a lot of times happens, very well, that I think that's a positive to take away at least. Because a lot of times that happens. Players, once the coach is gone, they start playing much better. So, we'll see how it all goes. But anyway, let's get into the New York Sports Update to finish off this Wednesday podcast here. So, alrighty. So yesterday, the Lakers won, Trailblazers won, 76ers won, Heat won, Bulls won, Hawks won, and Jazz won. Today, we got the Bucks, 76ers. I'll give Bucks the win. Wizards, Kings, give Wizards the win. Raptors, Pistons, give Raptors the win. Celtics, Celtics, Cavs, give Celtics the win. Bulls, Spurs, give Bulls the win. Warriors, Rockets, give Warriors the win. Grizzlies, Heat, give Grizzlies the win. Nuggets, Hornets, give Nuggets the win. Clippers, Mavericks, give Clippers the win. Nets also played today. Nets come in this game 27-13. Pacers come in this game 17-21. Nets are 3.5-point favorites. The over/under is 234.5 for this game. It comes on today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find this on FS/IM, which is FS Indianapolis, or you could find it on Yes Network as well. I'll give the Nets the win. We're rolling right now. No reason to give them a loss there. As for yesterday in the NHL, the Avalanche won, Lightning won, Wild won, Red Wings won, Bruins won, Devils won, and Capitals won. Today we got the Canucks Centers give Canucks the win, Jets Canadians give Jets the win, Blues Kings give Blues the win, and Flames Oilers give Flames the win, and Sharks Golden Knights give Golden Knights the win. Rangers also play today. Rangers come in this game 11-12-4. Flyers come in this game 14-9-3. This game comes on today 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBCSN. The over-under is 6 for this game. I'll give the Flyers the win. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I'll give them the win there. Go Rangers. As for yesterday in MLB, Rangers won, Rockies won, Mariners won, Marlins won, Angels won, White Sox won, Diamondbacks won, Brewers won, Blue Jays won, Red Sox won, Mets won, Pirates won, and Rays won. Yankees won yesterday 7-4. Yankees moved to 11-4-1 on the season. 6-game spring training win streak here. So, it's spring training, or 7-game actually, I believe. Spring training, but still good to see them win. Today we got the Mets, Marlins. I'll give the Mets actually. Yesterday, Francisco Lindor hit his first home run. I'll give Marlins the win. Rays, Pirates give Rays the win. Tigers, Phillies give Phillies the win. Red Sox win, give Red Sox the win. Dodgers, White Sox, I'll give Dodgers the win. A's, Royals, give A's the win. Rockies, Giants, give Rockies the win. Braves, Orioles, give Braves the win. Astros, Cardinals, give Astros the win. Rangers, Diamondbacks, give Rangers the win. Reds, Indians, give Reds the win. Cubs, Padres, give Padres the win. And Mariners, Angels, give Mariners the win. Yankees also play today. Yankees come in this game 11-4-1. Blue Jays come in this game 9-6-1. It's spring training. Might as well just give the Yankees the win there. So, let's get into fantasy basketball. So, in fantasy basketball, I'm currently losing 520 to 380. Today I've got going Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Jeremy Grant, Jonas Valanciunas, Kemba Walker, Miles Turner, Kyle Lowry, and Victor Oladipo. An injury update here. Jimmy Butler's day-to-day. Butler is questionable for Wednesday's game against the Grizzlies due to a right ankle sprain. Kemba Walker is also day-to-day. Walker has been ruled out for Wednesday's game against the Cavaliers for rest purposes, so he is out. Van Vliet, COVID-19 protocols, has been upgraded to questionable for Wednesday's game against Detroit. Doug Smith of the Toronto Star reports. Oladipo, day-to-day. Oladipo rest, will not play Wednesday against the Warriors. Jonathan Fine of the Houston Chronicle reports. And Pascal Siakam, COVID-19 protocols, has been cleared to practice with the Raptors on Tuesday night and is questionable for Wednesday's game against the Pistons. Doug Smith of the Toronto Star reports. So, that's good that we're getting those guys back. So, it's good that we're getting some of those guys. It's good that we're getting those guys back, obviously. So, rest and... Okay. Alrighty, so let's get into the hockey, fantasy hockey. So I'm currently winning in fantasy hockey. I had a big day in fantasy hockey yesterday, but I'm winning 51 to 33. So going pretty good there. Today I've got going Mika Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Anzes Kopitar, Johnny Gaudreau, Braden Shen, Nicole Ehlers, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, David Perron, Jeff Petrie, Shea Theodore, Shea Weber, Adam Larson, Justin Falk, and Brock Beausier, and my goalie is Jacob Markstrom. So that's that. So yeah, Rangers obviously play tonight. Nationally televised game on NBCSN. So some who might not be able to watch it on MSG will be able to get that game today, which should be good. Nets also today. Like I said with the Sabres, back with the Sabres. If you want to get back into the Rangers here before I, end the podcast here. The Rangers, they've been in these games is just finishing, and it's a young team. We've been making some mistakes late, but I'll tell you what. Artemi Panarin, with him being back, has definitely boosted us. You could see the difference in energy we're playing with has definitely boosted us. And I said that, when Panarin came back, obviously with the whole, Russian situation with him and all that stuff. I said when Panarin came back that, he's going to give us a boost. Everyone knew that. You literally have to watch, you could watch 1 minute of the Rangers game and realize that Artemi Panarin is our best player. He's one of the best players in the NHL. He's given us the boost. We're just not finishing games, and that's the problem. Artemi Panarin last game, he had a goal and 2 assists. He's picked up right where he left off, which is great to see. Because, you don't want to, for a guy that's coming off of that long of an absence, 2 weeks and all that stuff, to then come back, have 2 practices, and be playing like he is. He had an assist in his first game, and then a goal and 2 assists last game. So, 2 games here back, he's already had, 4 points, 3 assists and a goal. So, he's been playing really well. It's our goaltending at this point. Because Keith Kincaid is our third-string goaltender. He's playing. Tonight, we got Alexander Georgiev, but we've had our third-string goaltender going. And Georgiev's confidence has been terrible. We'll see how that goes tonight. We're missing our goaltender who's been really good in Igor Shesterkin. So, if the Rangers have their goaltender, we win 90% of these games. And that was even the case in the beginning of the season when our goaltenders were struggling. That's the problem. We don't have consistent goaltending. Shesterkin's been consistent, and then right when he finds that consistency, he gets injured. So, Panarin's definitely gave a boost to the Rangers, a much-needed boost. We have not won. We won the first game that Panarin was back. We shut him out. We had a 4-0 win. Last game we lost. So, we're now 1-1 with him back. But he's definitely given us a much-needed offensive boost. I mean, we could definitely see it with him back. It's definitely been really, really good to see him back. It's kind of funny. If you really want to think about it, the Rangers have scored 9 goals with Panarin back. 9 goals in 2 games with Panarin. No, 8 goals actually. 8 goals, sorry. 8 goals in 2 games with Panarin back. And he was involved in 4 of those goals because he's had 3 assists and a goal. So 4 of those 8 goals, he's had something to do with it. So he's been going well. Rangers has got to get the goaltending going, and we'll be able to make a little bit of a run here. So we'll see how all that goes. But anyway, with all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. Comment down below your thoughts on free agency, Giants free agency, or just free agency overall. Your thoughts on the Sabres firing their head coach, and any other New York sports update stuff that you would like to comment on. I always enjoy the comments, and that will do it for the podcast here today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.